All right. I think we're getting ready to start, but I still see the graphic on the screen. So I'm not going to quite start yet. There we go. Uh, Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Ferguson. I am the clerk of the Arlington Circuit Court, and it is an honor to be here to administer the oath to our newest Arlington County Board member, Takis Karantonis. Today we have a number of elected and appointed officials with us. I'd like to start by welcoming and introducing the Arlington County Board Chairman, Libby Garvey, followed by County Board Member Katie Crystal, County Board Member Matt DeFerrante, and County Board Member Christian Dorsey. That was the order I was given the list, not the order of seniority. Then from the school board, we have School Board Member Nancy Van Doren and Tanya Talento. We have our School Board Chairman, Monique O'Grady, and School Board Vice Chairman, Barbara Cannonen. From the House of Delegates, we have Delegate Rip Sullivan and Delegate Alfonso Lopez. We have former county board members, Mary Hines and Jay Fassett. We have from the county government, our county manager, Mark Schwartz, and from the school's staff, we have our new superintendent, Francisco Duran. Other staff from Arlington County I'd like to quickly introduce. Our county board clerk, Kendra Jacobs, Samia Bird, Michelle Cowan, Jim Schwartz, Chris Horton, and our county attorney, Steve McIsaac. So with that, we're going to start with a poem by Amanda Gorman. Amanda, are you there?
It's by Kimora. Kimora's reciting it, Paul.
Kimora Smith, I saw earlier, is going to recite the poem. Welcome, Kimora Smith. Kimora, I have on here that you're an 8th grade student at Thomas Jefferson Middle School. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm sure they're proud of you for representing them today. Kimora, I'd like to hand it over to you.
There's a poem in this place, in the footfalls in the halls, in the quiet beat of the seats. It is here, at the curtain of day, where America writes a lyric you must whisper to say. There's a poem in this place, in the heavy grace, the lined face of this noble building, collections burned and reborn twice. There is a poem in Boston's Copley Square, where protest chants tear through the air, like sheets of rain, where love of the many swallows hatred of the few. There is a poem in Charlottesville, where tiki torches string a ring of flame tight round the wrist of night, where men so white they gleam blue seem like statues, where men heap that long wax burning even higher, where heather higher blooms forever in a meadow of resistance. There is a poem in the great sleeping giant of Lake Michigan, defiantly raising its big blue head to Milwaukee and Chicago. A poem begun long ago, waves into frozen soil, strutting upward in a glow. There's a poem in Florida, in East Texas, where streets swell into a nexus of rivers, cows afloat like mottled boyos in the brown, where courage is now so common that 23-year-old Jesus Contreras rescues people from floodwater. There's a poem in Los Angeles, yawning wide as the Pacific tide, where a single mother swelters in a windowless classroom, teaching Black and brown students in Watts to spell out their thoughts so her daughter might write this poem for you. There's a lyric in California, where thousands of students march for blocks, undocumented and unafraid, where my friend Rosa finds the power to blossom in deadlock, her spirit the bedrock of her community. She knows hope is like a stubborn ship gripping a dock, a truth that you can't stop a dreamer or knock down a dream. How could this not be her nation? Sioux Nation, our country, our America, our American lyric to write, a poem by the people, the poor, the Protestant, the Muslim, the Jew, the native, the immigrant, the Black, the brown, the blind, the brave, the undocumented and undeterred, the woman, the man, the non-binary, the white, the trans, the ally to all the above and more. Tyrants fear the poet. Now that we know it, we can't blow it. We owe it to show it, not slow it. Although it hurts to sow it when the world skirts below it. Hope, we must bestow it, like a wick in the poet, so it can grow lit, bringing with it stories to rewrite. The story of a Texas city, depleted but not defeated. A history written that need not be repeated. A nation composed but not yet completed. There's a poem in this place, a poem in America, a poet in every American who rewrites this nation, who tells a story worthy of being told on this minnow of an earth, to breathe hope into a palimpsest of time, a poet in every American who sees that our poem penned doesn't mean our poems end. There is a place where this poem dwells. It is here, it is now, in the yellow song of dawn's bell, where we write an American lyric we are just beginning to tell. Thank you.
Kimura, that was beautiful. Takis is clapping, and I'm sure everybody else that is at their place watching it is clapping too. If we were live, there would be a enormous ovation for you, I'm sure. Thank you for your skill and courage for reciting that poem for us.
Thank you.
Next, we have the honor of being joined by Renee Gutshall. Renee, it's wonderful to have you with us, and you've agreed to make a few remarks. Renee Gutshall.
All right. Hopefully everyone can hear me. I've been cooped up inside working all day. I thought it would be a great idea to be out in nature, and hopefully the sounds will cooperate. Good afternoon, everyone. As you probably are aware, Takis and my husband Eric were very good friends, and I know that Eric would like nothing more than to be here today to shake Takis's hand, congratulate him, and welcome him and his lovely family to this next chapter of public service. For years, Takis has been leading in the forefront and also quietly working behind the scenes of so many important countywide initiatives. It's an honor for me to be here to represent our family today. Takis is joining a great team of board members, especially during such a challenging time for our county and beyond. And I know Takis will rise to this challenge for Arlington and keep us all, to quote my late husband, focused on the future. Congratulations, Takis.
Paul, you're muted. Paul, you're still muted.
I am sorry to everybody out there that we had temporary sound difficulties for me, but I wanted to thank Renee Gutshall for her beautiful words. Renee, we're all thinking of Eric today, and that just took courage for you to be able to join us today and to speak. So thank you very much, Renee. Next, I would like to welcome Matt Weinstein. He is the vice chair of the Electoral Board, and he is going to present the certificate from the Electoral Board to Takis virtually.
Well, thanks, Paul. Again, my name is Matthew Weinstein. I'm the vice chair of the Arlington Electoral Board. I'm joined here with my colleague, Scott McGarry, who is the secretary to the Electoral Board. So I think for the first time ever, we're virtually presenting the certificate of election to you right here, as you can see. And the certificate certifies that at a meeting of the Electoral Board on Thursday, July 9th, 2020, on an examination of official records deposited in the office of the clerk of the circuit court, it was ascertained and determined that at the election held on July 7, 2020, Takis P. Karantonis was duly elected member of the Arlington County Board for a term commencing today and ending on December 31st, 2021. So I have to work with Scott to get this signed and have the seal placed, but we will work with you on getting this to you in person. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt, for presenting that. And I should have introduced Scott McGarry, who's a longtime electoral board member from Arlington County and is currently serving as the secretary to the electoral board. So with that, we are getting close to the oath, but before we do that, we would like to have a formal introduction of Takis. And here to do that is school board member Nancy Van Doren. Nancy?
Thank you, Paul. Good afternoon, everybody. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce Takis Karantonis to you today, our newest county board member. Takis is poised and ready to serve Arlington, to serve you. He is one of the kindest, most caring people I know. He has a fresh perspective and endless energy. He will serve us well and will move this progressive community forward into the future. I met Takis 10 years ago, just as he began his work with the Columbia Bike Revitalization Organization. I was then president of the Thomas Jefferson Middle School PTA. Takis introduced me to the Columbia Pike business community and helped me to build school business relationships. Over the next few years, I watched Takis collaborate with diverse groups, including the award-winning Columbia Pike Neighborhoods Planning. I watched Takis collaborate with diverse groups, including the schools, to bring several major urban planning projects to fruition, including the award-winning Columbia Pike Neighborhoods Plan. Over the years, Takis has involved himself in all aspects of the Arlington community, serving as Civic Association President of Columbia Heights, Chair of the Board of Arlingtonians for a Clean Environment, Vice Chair of the Alliance for Housing Solutions, and member of the Transit Advisory Commission. As the senior school board member and longtime education advocate in Arlington, I am also thrilled that Takis has one more amazing asset. He is married to Lita Anestidou. Dr. Lita Anestidou has volunteered for over a decade with Arlington Public Schools at the Career Center as a community and professional advisor, and through 6 years of diligent service on the school board's Budget Advisory Council. Takis and Lita are a team. I am sure this will strengthen school-county collaboration going forward, and that makes me very, very happy. Like Alexander Hamilton, who we have heard so much about lately, and Arlington's own Walter Tejada and Dr. Villalon Sanchez, Takis Karantonis is an immigrant. And like these American immigrant public servants who have gone before him, Takis is called to government service and brings a fresh outsider's perspective. He revels in Arlington's world-class community and has a vision for its future. And just by who he is, where he has been, and the languages he speaks, he draws members of our diverse community together, a quarter of whom are foreign-born. This welcoming inclusiveness is critical right now, particularly during this pandemic, and it will serve us well going forward as we develop Arlington's collective plans for the future. Please join me in welcoming our newest county board member, Takis Karantonis.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy, for those words. Now we actually are going to administer the oath. So I was going to also introduce Takis's spouse, Lita Anestidou. Thank you, Lita, for being there and for assisting Takis with the oath. So Takis, would you please raise your right hand? Do you, Takis P. Karantonis, solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon you as a member of the Arlington County Board of Virginia for a term expiring December 31st, 2021, according to the best of your abilities?
I do.
Congratulations, Takis. And
Thank you.
We wish we were all there with you in person to applaud. Now we would ask you to give us a few remarks.
I will sign that for you.
Oh,
This is
thank
real.
you. That's important for
in the presence of
will,
everybody.
yes,
Personally.
we will have that on file for anybody to look up at the Arlington Circuit Court Clerk's office.
So that's for Lida. Okay.
Thank you, Takis.
Thank you all. Thank you all for being here, all in attendance right now, and those sharing with us this path. It is a virtual swearing in. I very much hope I will work very hard as I can possibly can, to get us back to a normal situation where we can celebrate the ceremonies again as we have and get back to our normal life. Thank you, Nancy Van Doren, for your very kind words. Thank you, Renee, for very moving words. Thank you, Kimura, for this fantastic poem. And thank you, Kidis, for the amazing photograph that you allowed us to share at the beginning of the ceremony. Before I continue, I would like to recognize this very important Arlingtonian, our dear friend Eric Gutshall, who we as a community and I personally are sorely missing. Yet I know that he is present today. I felt his presence throughout Arlington these past 3 very intensive months in more ways than I've ever had expected. His thoughts, his leadership, his dreams were shaping the conversation. It is the honor of a lifetime to assume the responsibility to finish his term. I want to thank Lida, my wife, who just stood next to me. Without her encouragement, patience, and support, it would have been impossible to stand here today. And my family, for their love and support, even if they are thousands of miles away. Just a few days, we lost our uncle Michel. I salute him and carry his wise, serene advice embedded in my heart. Thank you to the amazing, inspiring, energetic team who believed in this candidacy and our common cause from day one, and whose enthusiasm was a true force of nature. Thank you, Izzy Taveras. Thank you, Grace Barnhill, for leading an excellent campaign, for your kindness and for your energy. Thank you, Matt Royer, Arlene Spinelli, Michael Cassidy, Henry Watkins, Jimmy Rogers, Dan Matthews, and the entire crew of Arlington Young Democrats who have proven that they're not only excellent campaigners, but true opinion leaders in our community. Thank you, Jill Cayazzo and Maggie Davis, the Takis Force, co-chairs John Chandler and Phoebe Carlson, and the Democratic Party for your leadership, support, and encouragement. Thank you to the friends who so generously have given us time, talent, and treasure throughout this campaign. Kathleen McSweeney, Alisa Cowan, Nancy Van Doren, Carol Fontaine, Mary Hines, Jay Fissette, Inta Malis, Heather Kepler, Jared Nagurka, Craig Hines, Zakia Worthy, and so many others. It will take literally weeks until I can get back to each and every one of you to thank you personally. Thank you to all current and former elected officials who kept fighting for our shared values and were so supportive and in so many substantial ways. It will burst the time frame of this ceremony to name you all. I am forever grateful for your support and companionship. Thank you to the many civic institutions in Arlington who in difficult times stepped up and organized debates and kept the civic dialogue alive. You are indeed democracy at work. Speaking of which, I want to invite you to join me in thanking my opponents, Susan Cunningham and Bob Cambridge, who for a spirited campaign and a lively civic exchange, and their many past, present, and future contributions to our community. I am really honored and excited to join the hardworking team of the Arlington County Board. Libby Garvey, Katie Crystal, Christian Dorsey, Matt DeFranti. It's a real honor to call you my colleagues. And it should also be an honor to be joining the broader team of Arlington County government led by our county manager, Mark Swartz. I look forward to work together. I want to emphasize that our community at large recognizes the hard work and dedication of Arlington County staff during these very challenging times. I want to especially thank our frontline workers. They really go above and beyond the call of duty. I bow to the memory of the 134 Arlingtonians who have lost their lives to the COVID-19 pandemic. This is just one measure of how challenging these times really are, and how important it is to hold our shared Arlington values of solidarity, inclusiveness, and equity. COVID is a strong reminder that we are all in this together. But it's not COVID that unites us. It is Arlington that we all have in common. United, we will emerge as a strong, resilient, and equitable community. Assisting and supporting Arlingtonians most severely battered from this pandemic is simply who we are. Undoubtedly, the first months, maybe unfortunately even longer, of this term will be centered around dealing with the consequence of the pandemic, helping and protecting our most vulnerable citizens, and making sure that our economy, especially our small businesses, get back on their feet will be an absolute priority. The pandemic has opened our eyes for existing vulnerabilities and inequalities. At the same time, the murder of George Floyd, the Black Lives Matter movement, and the events on Lafayette Square compel us to revisit our entire governance through the equity lens, asking questions we long have suppressed, and having difficult conversations that need to be had. Arlington is actually uniquely positioned to lead in this too. The lively discussions we have had during this campaign about, for example, how do we tackle housing affordability and avoid that Arlingtonians are displaced? How do we make possible that working families and our middle class have a chance to afford to live in Arlington again? How do we manage growth with transportation infrastructure that works for every Arlingtonian and supports the best possible quality of life across the entire territory of our county? How do we strategically plan and invest in our facilities to smartly and efficiently meet current and future demands? How do we preserve and enhance natural resources and recreational spaces that are accessible to all? How do we respond to what is still the greatest challenge of our lifetimes, which is climate change? How do we preserve Arlington's diverse economic marketplace where small businesses can thrive next to big corporations? How do we keep our public school system excellent while helping all students to realize their full potential? How do we sustain a vivid and diverse art scene? How do we continue to move forward with our vision of a law enforcement that helps and assists citizens and becomes a trusted partner in creating truly safe communities? How do we enhance accountability and how we measure progress? During this campaign, it became clear to me that the answers to all the above and many more questions need to be a product of convening all Arlingtonians back to the table, especially those who are not right now or never had the opportunity to participate. Equity starts with our government listening, with identifying and acknowledging the systemic and structural explicit and implicit bias, with calling a spade when we see disparities and have the resolve to do something about it. I'm an immigrant myself, and you can imagine how strong I feel about this. I will be asking these 4 questions in every and before every single decision. Who benefits, who is burdened, who is left out, and how do we really know? At the same time, I'm inviting you to do the same, to ask the questions, to hold us, accountable, to give answers that work for all our Lincolnians, for our young professionals, for our working families, for our diverse immigrant communities, our Black neighbors, the tenant community, our aging neighbors, our many communities with disabilities, including those with mental health issues, our LGBTQ community, our small business community. With Eric, we shared one fundamental value: listening first, listening carefully, and listening to all. With this in mind and at heart, I will be going to work every day, focused on the future, for making Arlington the great, fair, equitable, just place we all want and we all deserve. So I want to thank you again, all, for sharing this moment with me, and I will see you in our neighborhoods. Before I close, I just wanted to take the opportunity. More than 100 languages are spoken in our county. We are a place of amazing diversity. So I just wanted to use Spanish to address the our citizens just in lieu. Muchísimas gracias por compartir este día con nosotros y este camino. Esto es su gobierno y las puertas están abiertas. Estamos escuchando. Muchísimas gracias. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Takis. Ordinarily, I would be inviting everybody for a reception to personally talk to Takis and congratulate him, but that will have to wait for someday in the future. If I missed any elected and appointed officials, I apologize. I did see that Delegate Mark Levine came in a little late and would like to recognize him. So with that, we will go ahead and close the ceremony, and we look forward to watching Takis in action starting today.
Thank you. We go to work. And we
Goodbye.
will meet again in
Yes.
person.